The following podcast is for 18 and up audiences only.
It's called Spider-Man's Tangled Web, Call of the Wild.
Issue 19, which was first published in 2002. This is a 20-year-old comic, and it mostly concerns two classic Spider-Man bad guys, Rhino and Grizzly. Now, I guess I'll just sort of go over who these guys are, for those who may not be as familiar with Spider-Man minutiae. Oh, great. Would you like to describe Rhino?
Sure. So Rhino is this classic Spider-Man villain who, if I remember correctly, is Russian originally.
He is Russian in the comics.
Although I don't think that really comes up anymore.
Hardly ever comes. Like, I had to, remind myself. So I've been going through a bunch of disappearances in the comics, but I think Rhino's really hot. But his heritage as a Russian national only comes up once or twice in his entire history. Otherwise, you never know he's Russian.
Yeah, so he started off as one of the many Russian supervillains in the era.
He was literally a communist, I think, in his first appearance. Yeah. But that's all gone over.
But yes. So, anyways, unlike most of those characters, he's just gone on to be his own thing. He's this big guy in a special Rhino suit that once he puts it on, he can never take it off again, unless he does. But then he gets stuck in it again later. Yeah,
but most of the time it's fused to his skin, and he basically it's a skin tight Rhino outfit. And he looks very naked when he wears it, which, as we've just said, is all the time.
Yep.
In particular, he has a massive bubble butt, like that.
He would be the frickin'. He would get so many taps on what Growler or whatever if he just wore this on his profile picture. Everybody would be hitting him up trying to get that ass.
It's
giving Kim Kardashian a run for her money, I swear.
The 90s Spider-Man cartoon especially, the animators basically draw him pornographic throughout that whole show, because he's just a big muscular naked man.
Yeah, no, for sure. They just really enjoy fleshing out these large, kind of robust characters in the animation studio back then, and that's left a pretty profound effect on the queer community, I'd say. We've just been hypnotized.
That show, everyone had an ass on that show, but also Venom was super fucking horny throughout that whole run.
Venom is always horny, and if they're not doing Venom horny, they're doing Venom wrong. I.e. Spider-Man 3.
I agree with you. Okay, and then Grizzly he's sort of has the same deal Rhino has, in that he's also a furry, and he wears a fursuit as his evil supervillain costume. But he's another large muscle man.
Isn't he a former wrestler?
He is a former wrestler, yes. But just in his case, he wears a bear fursuit rather than a rhino fursuit. But both of them it's a similar design. You can see their human heads through an opening.
They're just wearing little costumes.
Yeah, otherwise they're mascot characters.
Yeah.
And okay, also, Grizzly has been beaten in the past by Spider-Man at least once, by Spider-Man ripping his clothes off and tying him up naked.
This is important.
That is important. It's very important. And one other little tidbit, in my opinion, he has a large humiliation kink. Or at least he assumes that other guys do, because in a separate issue from this one, he was talking to another bad guy, the Kangaroo, and he has my favorite quote from him, which is, "Humiliation's part of the game. But you know what they say, the bigger the humiliation, the bigger the revenge." So he's very into being humiliated and then taking revenge for that humiliation.
You know who that line just immediately reminds me of?
Wolf?
Yes.
I took a wild guess.
That's not that wild.
I could see him saying the same thing.
He has said the same thing. I'm fairly certain in the Vendettas episode or something along those same lines. Because that entire episode, which I can't wait until we get to that episode in Gargoyles.
I know.
But Anyways, this isn't a Gargoyles episode.
No, but I do feel like Wolf and Grizzly would get along really well.
They are the same subset of men that are obsessed with being humiliated by others.
Like, okay, imagine if instead of literally turning himself into a furry, Wolf was just like, oh wait, I could just buy a fur suit online. Just wear that instead. Like, Grizzly's looking at him like, wait, you turned yourself into your persona? That's like way more hardcore than what I do.
Yeah, Wolf takes the furry game hardcore. Speaking of Wolf, I just want to bring up the fact that he is in the comics currently.
He is.
Like, they brought him up. I haven't read the recent issues, but I'm just... Okay, I just wanted to throw that out. I am aware, for the bunch of people messaging me, saying Wolf's in the comics, I am aware, and I'm very happy / afraid.
He has lines. He has daddy issues, maybe.
That's what I've heard. And it's very on par for his character, and I cannot wait and to see what they have planned for him in the series. I hope it's something good, but yeah, like that's a thing. I just want to point that out there before we continue.
So, okay, I think we're ready to start going over this comic. As we said, it's Spider-Man's Tangled Web, issue 19, Call of the Wild. If you would like to read this comic before listening, I'm just going to say it's very easy to pirate it. I'm not saying you should pirate it. I'm just saying if you wanted to, it would not be difficult before listening to our episode on it.
Are we promoting piracy now?
I just said I'm not advising anyone to commit a crime like that.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. It really specifically sounded like you were telling us to commit crimes.
I'm not a criminal. I'm not a crook, as Nixon would say.
I am not a crook.
So, would someone like to describe the cover to this issue that you would see like in a newsstand somewhere?
Well,
the top half looks like a very normal Spider-Man cover.
So yes, this Spider-Man is hanging from the ceiling on a web, but what is he hanging over though?
I love the image of just like the tops of their heads and their like little like paw pad feet just like hiding behind these stalls side by side.
So yeah, Spider-Man is hanging off the ceiling of the men's room, right over the heads of Grizzly and Rhino.
Who are, probably just minding their own business, not bothering anybody. But I guess so. So my first question is Spider-Man spying on these two as they use the bathroom?
I mean, look at the way his eyes are facing. He's spying specifically on Rhino.
Okay, so he's more interested in tapping that than Grizzly.
This is like a nature documentary to him. Call of the Wild, and he's just like, oh yes, this is how mates happen.
Yes, because there's a glory hole involved here.
There has. I feel like
There's no way there isn't.
So, yeah, I mean, I like the scribbled art too. I mean, the J. Jonah Jameson is a dick on the front page. Like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like a classic New York City like public restroom. There's graffiti everywhere.
I would love to know what the sign on the left says. It probably showed on the back cover, but we don't have the back cover, so.
SP something. Or no, wait, on the left. Yeah, I don't know.
Something about toilet paper.
Oh, yeah, probably it says out of toilet paper, maybe.
Out of order.
Out of order. See, we figured it out. Okay. So this comic, it's all from the point of view of Grizzly. And it's mostly about how horny he is.
Yeah.
But it begins with him getting out of prison. He's done his time for, whatever he did the last time he was put in jail by Spider-Man. And we see him leaving. And I don't know about you guys, the first thing I noticed was the rather large hole in his fursuit.
Yeah.
Where it's just, you just see butt showing through it, like just grizzly man butt.
Yeah, this is obviously a suit that he's kept for way longer than he should have without getting it like sewn or treated or anything. Like it's been through like a lot. Can we talk about like what his browsing window reads?
That's what I want to start with.
Up there. Okay, so before this we see him in in a cyber cafe or something. Okay.
Yeah, he's like in a public cyber cafe. Everyone's looking at him like he's a freak. He's just in full uniform, leaning back on his office chair, and he's putting up like a dating profile, and the description reads, "Huggable bear seeks well-built picnic partner to share pot of honey at the end of rainbow.
Rainbow.
Must be animal lover."
Gay coding.
This is not a heterosexual dating profile. I can start off with that.
Like huggable bear?
Bear is a terminology that I don't know. Because I think the whole like thing of this comic is he's fresh out of prison and very out of touch with society. And he's running off of like a very like conditionally systemated male brain at the moment. So he's very blissfully unaware of his own homosexuality is what I get at.
I fully agree with that rating. Because, I feel like a lot of the conflict in this story comes from that. Like, the conflict between his latent homosexuality. That he's just come from, like, a male-dominated environment. And now he's in the outside world. He doesn't know how things work anymore, so to speak. Basically what you just said.
Yeah. I like how he describes his suit. Like, the guards apparently have been borrowing his suit for parties and stuff. And he says that it was worse for wear and stank of cheap booze and cigarettes. So this guy is, like, really just stinky, is what I get at.
He's in a gross bear costume that I don't think he ever washes. But, okay, so you brought up that the guards have been borrowing Grizzly's bear costume.
And they put a hole in the ass.
Yeah.
There's a hole in the ass
Like,
when he leaves.
You guys ever watched, like, The Shining where, like, the bear suit guy is blowing the guy in the suit in the hotel room?
No.
What? I've never seen
gosh,
The Shining.
I'm sorry.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so there's a guy...
I thought there were, like, only, like, the family in the hotel.
The ghosts are everywhere.
There's a gay bear ghost?
Yes. I think it was supposed to reference, like, something, but yes, it's like a horror scene where, like, the wife is, like, running through the hotel corridors near the end of the movie, and in one of the corridors, she sees, like, a man in a bear costume and, like, another man laying on the bed, and the man in the bear costume just, like, looks up at her. Like, he's clearly just giving a blowjob. He's got his butt flap hanging out. And the bear is really scary looking. Like the face like looks like unnaturally like plastic.
Ooh.
And then like
That's scary.
the guy he's blowing is just some guy in like a suit. Like he looks like just one of the rich ghost people in the hotel.
That sounds amazing. But okay, but like
And
back to Grizzly. Yes. Do you feel that the guards have been using his costume for similar...
That scenario I just
scenarios?
described is what I envision the guards were doing with his suit.
Okay.
Just one image.
Same here. Like, maybe not exactly the same, but similar to what you just described. Okay, so basically, Grizzly he's got a shitty apartment in, like, a bad neighborhood, but he's gonna work to get back on his feet. He's going to go straight, as he keeps putting it.
He keeps saying that.
He says it repeatedly
Oh
in this issue that he wants to go straight. But as he's like dusting, he hears a noise outside his door, and he goes out to look, and it is Rhino, who is his neighbor. And Rhino, he's got his foot like stuck in a trash can. They're both, they're big guys in weird animal costumes. These things happen to them. And Rhino is very happy to see him because he's like, oh, hey, you're like a fellow criminal furry is my neighbor. Like, we have so much in common. Maybe we can hang out. But Grizzly is pissed because he wants to go straight. And there's this big manly muscle guy who's basically naked in front of him, who he has so much in common with, and he like doesn't want to be around him because he's a latent homosexual and he has repressed desires.
Rhino offers him the bottle he's drinking from. I can only assume that's an alcohol bottle.
I didn't even notice the indirect kissu.
Yeah, and then he's like smiling, and like Grizzly at first is like eyeing that bottle.
He
He's
is, yeah.
And Rhino's like, how about a little housewarming party?
Uh-huh.
And then Grizzly then decides to shove the bottle out of his face, and he's like, my riding days are over. I'm going straight. And then...
And Rhino's like, I was only being friendly.
Yeah, well, friendly can get my parole violated, my hairy ass hurled back into the slammer.
So every time, I've read this book multiple times now, every time he says that line, I read it first as, well, friendly can get my hairy ass violated. is what I see.
All you need to do
those are the words
is
that are
switch
bolted.
around a couple words, and it becomes a much different statement. Like, my goodness.
Also, okay, every time they refer to Grizzly's ass in this book, which is more times than you might expect, they always make sure to say that it's a hairy ass. Just something that I've noticed.
It's horny. Rhino looks so defeated after that, though. Like, he's just like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, like, he's sad. He just put himself out to, like, be friendly, and then Grizzly is, like, a jerk to him.
Yeah, well, you know, Grizzly's apparently trying to go straight, so...
But, so after this, minor altercation, Rhino goes back inside his place, and then Grizzly tries to go back into his, but he's been locked out, so he's like break the door open to get back into his own apartment.
He so elegantly says, repairing the door will eat up most of my welfare check. Bang goes the new thread, so he's stuck with the same stinky outfit.
He literally has no clothes, except for like one pair of underwear and his bear suits.
He has at least 2 pairs of underwear.
He has like...
We know.
He's wearing like a sock in this panel.
Because he's wearing an orange and yellow one. And the next time you see his underwear, he wears green and blue.
We have multiple underwear glimpses. But yeah, so we do get a view of him just like on his bed in his boxers, and we can see that he's a bear.
He's got some magazines under his bed. There's a XXX magazine.
XXX. There's a Supervillain Weekly, and then a Lonely Single Guy mag, which I'm just assuming is porn.
So sad.
The XXX is supposed to be porn. I mean, that's what...
So 2 out of 3 of these are porn. Maybe all 3 are, actually.
Yeah, Supervillain Weekly. Like, come on, you just see freaking the Marvel villains flexing their assholes on the freaking magazine. Like,
I would love a book like that. Yeah. Give that to us, Marvel.
And then he goes to he goes to a coffee shop called Juicy Lucy's.
Juicy Lucy's, yeah. So there's a few scenes of him and Rhino just like running into each other around town.
Is this woman, like, she calls him Huggy Bear, so there's some familiarity there, but, like, he just doesn't pick up on any of the...
No.
Well, he sort of hits back on her.
He says he can't find someone to do his back because she keeps turning him down every time he asks her out.
Oh.
Yeah, well, okay, he keeps asking her to shave his back. Maybe. Yeah, but, like, it seems like he's, there's some playful flirtation going on. But then when he asks for a T-bone steak, but she says, sorry, sugar, your buddy down there already ordered up every steak in our freezer, and we just see Rhino with like a huge stack of meat in front of him.
Just a full-grown Rhino suit man, just eating.
just eating that meat like he eats ass and sucks dick. Am I right? But so Grizzly, he has to just get a prawn cocktail instead of a poor guy.
Yeah.
And after that, he tries to go out and get a job for himself. Oh, is there something you'd like to say, Sid?
Yeah, the second panel. I'll let you just describe that first panel.
Okay, well, like, he tries to get so what happens in this scene is he's trying to get a job at a construction yard, but they tell him the position's already been filled, and it turns out to be Rhino, who's, like, making a fucking mess of everything. Like, he knocks down the wrong building by accident.
And then there's a guy who's who's got his butt crack sticking out in the second panel. He's like yelling at Grizzly like, "Hey, you need a hard hat if you're coming through here." And then Grizzly smirks, looks back at the guy with his like ass out, and then he's like, "Yeah. And you need a bigger pair of pants to stop your butt playing peekaboo." Like this is gay.
It's like, okay, like, that's the whole book. Like, the whole book is, like, very straight, but, like, very gay.
It's so weird. Like, okay. I know I was gonna save this for later, but I'll say this now. Reading this as a gay man gave me so much anxiety.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Like, I couldn't, like, just the whole, I get that he's repressed and everything, but the fact that,
It's like, the whole book is him and Rhino not being able to, like, having feelings, but not being able to, like, deal with them.
Oh my god. It's just, it's like, I can just picture, like, a straight guy reading this comic and just not getting it, and that's what bothers me.
Like,
I think.
Like, if a straight man and a queer man, like, read this issue, they would get completely different readings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Especially given when it was published, too. Like, if this book came out today, like, maybe more people would pick up on it, I feel like. But, like, in the early 2000s, like, the language wasn't as present for a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll share my thoughts near the end. Let's proceed.
So after that, Grizzly makes his way to the Helping Hand Fertilization Clinic. He's going to make a sperm donation. It looks like, which apparently you get paid for doing that. I never
supposedly
knew
I don't know.
In this book, at least, yeah, they pay guys to donate sperm.
So a lot of queer people go there.
Probably. So, but like, who would he run into there though? But Rhino. So the first thing he hears is Rhino telling the nurse, "No magazines for me, sister. I got the horn permanently."
So
what does that mean?
So
exactly?
Okay. The horn permanently? I actually have no idea.
Like, it sounds like he's saying he's always horny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he's saying he's a permanent erection is what it sounds like.
Damn.
So then he goes on to say, seeing as he's a regular and knowing how difficult it is to perform.
No, that's not Grizzly saying that.
No, Rhino's saying.
You didn't say that. We were talking about what Grizzly's just said.
No,
with the horn
no, I got the horn permanently with Rhino.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, why is this? Sorry, it's because he's in the panel and I see the speech bubbles. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Hence, the joke about having the horn permanently from the Rhino.
Yeah, see, like, that makes more sense to me. That's why I was so confused. Oh my gosh, okay. This is what I'm just talking about.
But, okay. Starting over. He goes on to say, though, seeing as how I'm a regular, and knowing how difficult it is to perform with this hide of mine, is there any way we could maybe raise the donating fee? But okay, so my question to the two of you is, how is he jacking off in this fertilization clinic? Because the suit covers all of him. The Rhino suit.
He's made it clear it's difficult, but it is doable.
But how?
I don't know.
Because he, like, it's over his...
I don't know.
So how is he doing it?
I don't know.
But we do have confirmation that he does jerk off.
He's capable of doing that. Okay, so when they see each other, do we want to talk about what their interaction is?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a few things to say about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Rhino sees Grizzly and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And Grizzly replies, "Looking to become the world's first pregnant man. Why do you think I'm here?" Which is like it's both like a brush off, but also like a weird thing to say.
Like, he does want to get pregnant?
Like,
is that
why
what
did
he's
his
saying?
mind go there?
You know why. We
saw
know why
Rhino.
his mind goes to these places. It's just like, the characters have no self-awareness. This is like Phil Leotardo from The Sopranos all over again, where the character is very obviously homosexual, but they're troubled to a certain degree where they'll never acknowledge it.
But it's like they're always belligerent towards each other, but like there's also a weird flirtation, like every interaction they have. But okay, then like Rhino makes it weird, like more weird than it already was. Just they sit by each other for a little bit, but then Rhino's like, that ain't too far-fetched, you know. They can do that kind of stuff these days. Make men pregnant. Which is like, why is he still talking about this?
You know why.
And also, what?
That panel is very, very powerful where he's talking about that to Grizzly. Like, he's just, the obvious inclination is that he wants to get him pregnant.
He wants to impregnate Grizzly.
Yeah, this is already reaching, like, weird territory.
He's seen the hole in the back of Grizzly's costume, and he's like, I want to get in there.
Oh, wait, and, okay.
Yeah. So the next thing is that the nurse comes by, and, you know, first she tells Rhino that his cubicle is ready for him. But then she says to Grizzly, you know, they're sorry, but they've been extremely busy all day. Would he mind using the same cubicle as Mr. Rhino? But then she quickly adds, after he's finished, of course. And Rhino looks back at Grizzly with, like, this shit-eating grin. He's holding the vial that he's about to, like, make
Jerk
his deposit
off
in. And he says, put your feet up, Yoti. This might take a while.
Okay, so we all know he's going to be thinking about Grizzly while he's jerking off now.
And he's going to edge himself for a while, too, it sounds like. Yeah. First.
Damn.
But it's like I was just saying, like, they have this belligerent interaction. Like, Rhino's like, yeah, you don't have to use the room after me, and you don't have to smell my cum while you're jerking off yourself, and aren't you gonna hate that? But, like, also it's the gayest thing that's, like, ever been said to anyone.
There's
like,
so much. There's just so much. I, like, did they knew, they had to have known.
Well,
they knew.
Yes, because the whole issue is an extended gay joke. So,
yeah, but
it's
like,
on purpose. Okay, so after that interaction, we don't see how that ends, but I can only imagine that Grizzly also edged himself for a while thinking of Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes to a bar afterwards, and he goes into the restroom, and he's sitting in a stall doing his business, and he notices that, you know, he doesn't have very much toilet paper left. But then, whose hand would he see creeping under the wall of his bathroom stall but Rhino's, stealing his toilet paper?
It's pretty low.
So, this is hookup culture right here. They're in a men's room, creeping under the stalls. Like, this, before the internet, this is sort of how men hooked up.
Yeah.
Like, this is sort of a thing that happened.
Yeah, it was pretty regular.
Like, there's a little charge happening, but Grizzly gets all annoyed. He, like, stands up to look over the wall at the stall, and he sees Rhino, who's sitting on the toilet. He has a newspaper over him. And also, we do get a good view of Grizzly's ass again, where we can see, yes, he has at least 2 pairs of underwear, because he has a different pair on today.
That hole in the butt showing some blue polka dots. I can confirm. The hole is
bigger now. Like, it might be bigger.
Man's got needs.
He's been sitting on various things.
So, yeah, like, Rhino's freaked out. He's like, what are you, some kind of stalker? And then Grizzly's like, I'm the stalker?
Because from his point of view, Rhino's been, like, following him everywhere, but, like...
And then we see, like, a cute little panel where he just kind of, like, loses his shit and karate kicks Rhino through the next stall. Yeah. Like, this man in a grown costume. I like their expressions.
They get into a fight. He knocks Rhino, like, onto a water pipe, so now Rhino's all wet.
Oh, yeah, Rhino. And then he's just sitting there wet and naked, and he's like, it's bad enough. Okay, so he's like, I tried being neighborly, but now I'm gonna knock your hairy butt all the way to Timbuktu.
It's always hairy.
And then they crash through some more walls outside the building, and then they're like kind of like wrestling around, and they're
I wish they had done the Goliath and Wolf wrestling move on each other, but I feel like they're prepared to do that.
I think Goliath and Wolf need to switch it up once in a while.
Yeah.
All they do is hold hands.
They and Rhino and Grizzly should go on like a double date, but like switch partners halfway through.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, the next page, Spider-Man appears to kind of like, looks like he's trying to control the commotion.
He says, yes, it's true what they say. It is a jungle down there. So Spider-Man, you know, he just sees these two slobs fighting each other. So he's trying to put a stop to it. But the way he does it is he webs Rhino and then like kicks him backwards into Grizzly. But we just see like a full panel of Rhino's ass, like at Grizzly's face.
Yeah, Grizzly is like eyes popping, just staring at that thing
because it's coming at him at high speed.
I'm sure he's terrified. I'm sure he's not excited in the least bit. Oh, back when he worked for the pro wrestling circuit, he got the reputation for never going down no matter how hard he got hit. Sure wish I could shake that habit. And then the Rhino butt comes at him.
And then there's a sound effect of just like... So like...
Sure. So Spider-Man's being like the sassy twink he is and just like webbing them up to like Rhino's like tied up at the bottom of a light pole and Grizzly's like hung upside down from the top.
Yeah, so they're both in bondage together and Spider-Man leaves them and they sort of have a conversation.
Like he's just like calling them like, you guys are 40 plus and you're doing this, like get a life. And then he's like, better still, use your animal magnetism and go get yourselves a girl. You could do it over the internet, just don't send them your prison mugshots. And it's like, it seems like he's trying to give them advice, but like I also think that he's not aware that he just like stopped like their first real mating session.
Yes, but like this sort of like classic Spider-Man, like he's sort of a jerk, but he's also like he wants to help his villains a lot of the time too,
I guess.
Like so like I'm sure in his mind he was like, yeah, I should just tell him the girl, that would solve the problem, because you know he the straight man,
they clearly need
like,
to,
that's what I did.
Yeah,
it helped me.
Yeah. So yeah, and then like they're just kind of left on webbing and people are coming out into the sidewalk laughing and pointing at them.
Yeah, well, you know, the greater the humiliation, the greater the revenge. But, so they ask each other, like, you know, like, how long is this webbing gonna last? And it's like 8 or 9 hours. So they're gonna be there literally all night long.
And they're like, internet dating, you'd have to be pretty sad to try that. And then Grizzly's like, yeah, real sad.
Yeah, even though we know that Grizzly, at least, is already trying to internet date.
Yeah.
But then, this is the moment for me. So they're just sort of talking, and then Grizzly is upset, and he says that, you know, like, well, when this webbing dissolves, I'm gonna fall on my head. But then Rhino looks up at him and says, don't worry, man, I'll catch you. And Grizzly, like, looks down at him, and it's like he's seeing him for the first time, almost. And like it's really, really sweet.
It's really cute.
Like all of a sudden they're friends now. And he's like, Rhino, like, you still up for that housewarming?
Is that Doc Ock in the background? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bar they were at was a villain bar, so there's all these like bad guys there.
That's cool. I don't need to know the whole spiel. Okay. Oh.
So okay. Then we move on. We smash cut to Grizzly's computer screen. He's still doing the internet dating. So on his screen, he's exchanging messages with someone, and it reads, "Honey's my favorite snack, especially when it's drizzled all over my body, waiting to be licked off." And it's signed Honey Bunch. So, my question is, so, okay, not to spoil the end of the comic, but
yeah, they lead up to like a whole surprise.
But okay, so we know that the person Grizzly is conversing with turns out to be Rhino, who just told him that he wants honey licked all over his body.
Yep.
But okay, so we know that Grizzly, at least, he thinks he's talking to a woman. Does Rhino also think that?
So
Does Rhino know he's talking to Grizzly? Because this is the part of the story where, like, it sort of stops making sense.
So, like, here's the thing. So, obviously, Rhino walks out and is like, and says he's been talking to a girl too. So it was a real sweetheart,
well
and
built, if
which
you know
is
what I mean.
obviously what Grizzly said in his online thing. But at this point in the story, he's very clear. He's like, I'm making movies. I can tell she's real interested. Now, at this point, I am 99% sure he's not yet figured out that it's Grizzly.
Okay, but you think maybe he does figure it out later on. But that doesn't make sense though, because on a dating site, you put what your gender is. So like, did they both put that they were women?
This was put in 2002.
I feel like that's been the case ever since dating sites were invented.
I don't know.
Which was before 2002.
See, okay, the thing is, this comic doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't, and that's why I'm trying to make it make sense. I'm trying to figure this out.
I have no other explanation other than that they were given some sort of weird dating site that doesn't, like, determine gender or whatever. Or maybe they were just, like, maybe it's just, like, anonymous emails, because obviously they just go off of a username and nothing else.
Maybe.
Like, no descriptions, no...
Like, okay, but, like, I'm just... They tell each other that they've been exchanging, like, pretty lurid messages with each other. But I'm just like, but how do you do that without, like, talking about relevant body parts at some point? Or...
So we know initially if he states that he was avoiding making any sort of so here's what he was being very, like, coy and avoiding stating anything like that, as he originally states, because he wants to be, like,
but then
play
later
cool.
on they
but and this is where I'm getting to, by the time after this conversation between Rhino and Grizzly, we see more interactions between them, and by then Rhino is now calling him Mr. Grizzly. Maybe that's in his imagination. I don't know.
My theory is the writers really honed in onto the gay surprise at the end. And they just, like, instead of... They wanted to do something to where, like, both these guys, like, were convinced that they were in a straight relationship, and they really wanted to hone in on the fact that being... How do I put this delicately? You know how what's a good example? Dare I bring up the Crying Game?
I haven't seen the Crying Game.
Well, there's like a whole plot twist pertain to the fact that one character was indeed queer. Yeah. And that became a kind of a trend in media for, like, all the early gay, like, subtext, plot twist, it's actually gay, question mark?
Well, and, like, that was the closest they could do to, like, a queer, like, that was the that we had.
This is them trying to do that. Like, it doesn't make a lick of sense in story canon,
but, like,
because they don't...
is just to get there and be like, oh, these straight men were accidentally gay, and that's the joke.
Yeah. It's like, that's kind of like, okay, like, I would describe reading this comic as a gay man as watching, like, a plate of delicious food just shake before you, the whole comic just shaking, and you really want to get that, you really want that food, but then, let me finish.
Okay.
It's shaking before you the whole time, and then before you can finally get that delicious food you're watching, like, shake, it just, like, you just only to have it fall and hit the ground, and then you realize you're not going to eat that food now, but you are just like, damn, that would have been really nice food.
Would have been really nice, but they ruined it.
Yeah, that's my problem with a lot of, I think, Western queer media is, I guess during this era, because I feel like we've come a long way since then, but yeah, that is what this comic is trying to do, is hone in the queerness as a plot twist. When we're queer and we're actually reading this, we don't register it as a twist. This is just, oh, these guys are gay, but they're playing around with it, question mark? Yeah. It's more confusing for us.
Well, I'm going to attempt throughout the rest of this to give you an alternative queer reading of this comic, and we'll see if I can maybe turn some of those negative feelings around a little bit. Well, I'll see if I can manage it. It'll be difficult, because I agree. This comic is basically like a no homo thing by the end, but like I have a few things to say as we go through, and we'll see if I can manage it.
Okay.
But okay, so Grizzly is talking to this hot babe named Rhino on the internet who wants honey licked all over his body. Anyway, they're hanging out on a roof later on. And yeah, they both tell each other that, I've met this hot girl online, like, I think she's into me, and they're like, oh, like, congratulations, bud. But then Rhino notices that, like, Grizzly actually seems, like, kind of depressed, and he's like, hey, what's the matter? And Grizzly tells him that, well, he's actually out of practice with women, kissing them, doing other things, maybe. And Rhino is like, what? A hunky guy like you? Ex-athlete? No, like, you must have been fighting them off. And Grizzly's like, well, okay, I might have had a few groupies, back in my pro wrestling days. They were turned on by my trademark grizzly roar when I won a bout. But then he actually says something interesting to me, where he says, none of them were exactly lookers, though. In fact, I threw a few fights to avoid second dates. So, I'm probably reading too much into it.
No,
but
you're
I sort
not.
of feel like I'm not. Like, to
You're
me,
definitely not.
That's a way for him to sort of tell Rhino that, like, yeah, like, or like he's sort of like figuring out for himself, like he's been conditioned to think he's supposed to be attracted to women, but like he sort of isn't, is what I feel like from that interaction. But like he sort of masks it to Rhino as like, like just guy talk, and he's like, yeah, the women were like ugly though, so I wasn't into them. But like I don't know.
When I thought I was straight, I did have a girlfriend for 2 years, and I only kissed her on the cheek once.
I also had a girlfriend.
And I didn't. She was my gossip girl. We didn't really do anything except just talk about things a lot. And yeah, she actually cheated on me a lot to survive, and I felt no. I mean, like, it was in middle school, so obviously I don't care.
This is middle school drama. No, let's find this girl. Let's find her Facebook.
I'm still friends with her. I still talk with her once in a while. She's
good.
Doing good, and she's not convinced I'm 100% gay still, and I think she's still got a thing for me, but, I definitely am. That's where that led. But no, yeah, like, I'm just a comfortable gay man. She's still thirsty in her home state.
She probably always will be.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Once you go Sid, you don't go something that rhymes with Sid. Yes, you don't. No, that doesn't work. Okay.
Right.
Okay, let me catch up to where I am. Yeah, you don't go mid. That's good. Okay, we got it. But okay, so like Rhino sort of like, he like punches Grizzly on the shoulder. He like tells him, like, he tries to like amp him back up, like amp his confidence. And he's like, no, like, you're a badass supervillain. Like, the ladies love that. They dig the danger. And he says, hell, I better keep my girl out of your way, or you'll sweep her off her feet too. And then,
endearingly no homo.
One of the gayest moments in this comic, though, is he says, go on, let me hear it. And Kristen says, hear what? He says, that old Grizzly roar. The same roar which Grizzly just said turned on woman. Rhino wants to hear it. He wants to be turned on too. Rhino is gay.
I love gay Rhino.
It's the best Rhino.
Yeah, we need more of this guy.
So Grizzly tries to roar, but like he starts like hacking and coughing halfway through it, and Rhino's like, "Oh, maybe don't do that, because the ladies will think you don't have like
The stamina,
the sexual presence."
Mm-hmm.
But he still wants him though. Okay, and then we come to another of my favorite pages. So Grizzly is just going back over some of his interactions he's had with Honey Bunch. So we sort of like, it's unclear if these are words that Honey Bunch has actually said to him, or if these are Grizzly's fantasies.
I think I was just reading it. I'm pretty sure it is fantasies because she's saying his real name, and he hasn't given out his real name online yet.
That's too bad, because one of them is a lady saying, "I love hairy men," and if Rhino had said that would be proof. I'd be like, he knows he's talking to a man. But okay. Then another woman's like, "Dip me in honey and eat me alive."
No.
And it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
There is one interaction where Honey Bunch says, "Do you have anything against leather? Because that's what I like to wear." And Grizzly, aka Huggy Bear, responds, "Nope, but I can think of a few things I'd like to have against it."
Oh my god.
So this might be a reference, like Rhino wears like a harness sometimes, like in fights. So like this might be talking about that.
Isn't his suit? Aren't Rhino's like leather skin textured?
Yeah, Rhino's skin texture is leathery.
Is that a leather? Oh, okay,
yeah.
So it's probably that, I guess.
Yeah.
Or Rhino's a leather daddy.
I mean, it's both probably.
Both.
But so they arrange a date for themselves at the zoo the next day, and Honey Bunch says, "I'll bring the honey," and then Grizzly says, "And I'll bring the tongue."
Mm-hmm.
So they're planning a licky adventure with each other. And following that, like, Grizzly basically has sex dreams that night.
Yeah. I'll describe this.
Very weird.
I'll describe this. So there's a woman in like a bear, and she's like in a bikini.
Like a sexy.
She's like getting chased by a red and blue spider. And Grizzly comes in wearing nothing but like what I assume is like a loin, like what is that? Like just cave pelt underwear, and just like he's just he goes in and destroys the spider, saves the girl, and starts making out with her. Mm-hmm. And then we pan to like what he's doing in bed, and he's just laying butt ass naked in bed. He's naked. The little spoon cuddling up to his outfit, his bear suit outfit, which we've already established is smelly, very man-scented, his own scent, mind you.
Yeah.
Probably like tattered, used by the policemen, just trails and trails of testosterone leaking off that thing, and he's having a sex dream cuddling up to it.
I just had a horrible thought.
What?
Has he been fucking his bear suits?
You know he has.
Oh my god.
It's his equivalent to a body pillow.
Yeah.
He thinks it's okay though, guys. He's straight. He's totally straight.
Yeah,
he's going straight.
He's going straight. He had a lot of butt sex in prison, but he's going straight now. Okay.
Did you just hear my groan after saying that? I'm just like, I can't. I hate saying. Anyways.
Alright, so the next day, Grizzly goes to the zoo. It turns out neither he or Honey Bunch know what each other looks like. So I'm just like, how the fuck are you gonna find each other at they're fucking idiots. But
Because Honey Bunch is supposed to be carrying a thing of honey, but he forgot apparently.
Well, yeah, because he starts like licking his lips at like every hot woman who goes by, and then they like scream and run away. Because he looks like a weird sexual predator, and he's like a large man in a bear costume. So
kind of looks like he's just doing that trick where he's like, "Look, I can touch my nose with the tip of my tongue."
He can pick his nose with his tongue.
Oh my god!
Very impressive. That's gross. But okay, there's a stupid scene where like an ugly girl starts coming towards him, and he thinks that like she might be Honey Bunch, so he like runs away, and then a lady just like sees him behind the bushes, just like his big butt, and she's like, "Oh my god, a bear's escaped from the cages!" And she like gets a security guard to shoot him in the ass with a tranquilizer gun. Like, this whole page is really fucking stupid, but
yeah,
I do enjoy that he gets shot in the ass.
No, it's definitely, I always enjoy that.
That's a trope that we will never get tired of.
No, and then we see, like, as they're, like, just over his unconscious body, they're like, oh, it's just some idiot in a suit. And then, and we see a single hand in the shadows carrying a jar of honey.
Who is she? So after this, Grizzly, like, he basically is like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm the sorriest guy on the planet, like, I fucked up, like, please give me another chance. And eventually, Honey Bunch does, so they meet again. It's what looks like, I don't know, like a park maybe, there's a fountain, and Grizzly shows up, but he's waiting for Honey Bunch, but then he spots a jar of honey. And he's like, oh, what's this? Then he sees there's actually a trail of honey jars. So he follows the trail, and he sees there's someone's arm they're behind a tree, but they're holding out, a jar of honey. Who is she? They're in silhouette. It's very mysterious. And then he creeps up to the tree, and then without looking at who it is, he jumps around and he kisses the person full on the lips, just a big ol' smooch, and then we see it's Rhino. They're lip locked, staring into each other's eyes. Gay panic ensues.
Yeah, no, I love that the caption is like saying, if you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise, and it's just two men kissing.
It's two men kissing.
That's the surprise.
It's under the boardwalk.
And then the very next panel, they're like, ew, disgusting, and then they start spitting out.
The classic spit take.
The spit, no homo, just like, ew, I just kissed a man, I can't believe it.
So gross. And Rhino's like, oh, like, first you try to kill me, then you try to kiss me. And Grizzly's like, oh, but I thought you were, life can't be that cruel, could it? So Grizzly starts going over stuff that he said to Honey Bunch. He's like, honey's my favorite snack. But Rhino's like, actually, I hate it, but I'm not the one who's going to be licking it off me. And he's like, wait a minute, how do you know that? And Grizzly's like, hi, Honey Bunch.
I like that's like his first outing. Like, it's weird and it doesn't make sense, but yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. But then Rhino's like first response after he gets over the initial shock is telling Grizzly, you stood me up. So like the comic is again like straddling the line. Like, they're not gay.
I hate it.
But like they still keep acting gay anyway.
Like, just like the summarization of like them not knowing who the other was, and just like, no, wait, it was actually you. Oh my gosh, plot twist, surprise. It's just, I don't know, something about it's just tasteless to me. Like, I just really can't.
But like, this is, I remember like in the early 2000s, this was a very common like humor.
That is like
there was a lot
I
of,
said
sort
earlier,
of homophobic humor around.
Yeah, no, that is just how it was back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So I guess let me just, we're almost at the end, so I'll go to the end of the comic and then I'll start giving a few of my thoughts on it. So they sit down together and they're sort of like, oh man, like they sort of like bemoan what happened. They're like, I thought I was gonna find a hot babe, I ended up in your strong muscular arms. I hate this. Then but okay, Rhino does ask Grizzly, he says, you still going straight? And Grizzly says, yeah, straight back to crime, because real life's way too hard to handle.
And then Rhino just throws the jar of honey into the pond.
Sadly. But then, okay, the writing's telling us one thing. The writing is like trying to no homo with this, but the art is kind of telling a different story, because they literally walk into the sunset together. And Grizzly's like, hey, want to stop for a bite on the way back? And Rhino says, depends. How hard do you bite? And he's like, oh, sorry. Just kidding. Unless... ... question mark. And that's how it ends. So... They got there.
They crossed the finish line. They got to a kiss.
And then they sort of realized, I feel like the writer, I don't know, the creative team realized what they'd done. Or like, wait a second, we took the joke a little bit too far. We've got to dial it all the way back. Because Marvel Entertainment has not actually given us permission to make these two characters gay.
It's so stupid. Like, just the whole, like system is just,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be another 5 years after this comic before Marvel will give permission for their first gay kid. Like,
we had North Star.
Oh, right, we had North Star.
North Star was in the 90s. Like, we had a few gay characters, but like, to this day, they're still far and few between.
Yeah.
Like, they have, like, their Pride books every so often. That's very nice to see. But, like, we want Rhino and Grizzly to be gay.
We do want Rhino and Grizzly to be gay. Like, this comic gave us
also,
all the material.
Gay.
Oh, yeah.
What?
The kangaroo guy.
Kangaroo's also gay.
What are you saying he is?
He should be.
Yes, he should be.
Yes.
Yes. Grizzly's other ex-boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can understand feeling let down, definitely, by the ending of this book. But I have known a lot of guys from this time period who they did, like, the no-homo type of humor a lot. And today, in 2023, a lot of those guys now actually have come out of the closet as either gay, bisexual, whatever. Because, like, that type of humor, like, it's sort of like how you can test the waters a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can sort of, like, dabble in it before, like, you're ready to come out fully. So, like, I'm not saying that's 100% definitely the case here, but, like, even after the two of them kiss each other and they're walking away, like, Rhino is still sort of, like, making jokes about it. Like, how hard do you bite? Like, he still has that weird flirting thing going on. So I do think that's interesting. And also, I've also known a few people, my ex-manager at one of my jobs, who only came out a lot later in life. Like, she was in her 40s, I believe, when she realized she was a lesbian. So, like, that happens. And when it does happen, it's a lot of times it's very messy. Because it's like, you've been living your life a certain way, and, like, it's difficult to, like, throw all that out immediately. Like, you have to, like, sort of, like, pick and choose, like, what is still, like, relevant to yourself, what isn't, like, what you want to change. And it can be hard. And you have friends and family, and, like, they may not, like, understand what you're going through, and so on and so forth. So I'm just, like, I feel like for two guys in their 40s to sort of realize they have feelings for each other, like, I can see this playing out in a similar way. Like, neither of them are ready yet, but, like, for a first time, so to speak, like a comedy of errors almost. I don't know, like, I can...
No, I see what you're saying.
Like, the whole book is still, like, super homoerotically charged, and, like, it's full of subtext.
Mm-hmm.
It is a shame they couldn't go all the way, but to my mind, like, in my mind they did go all the way. Like, they are gay now to me, like, canonically. I know that they're not really, but it's my own headcanon, and I've decided that they are. So there.
Yeah, I think headcanons are what keep a lot of the gay community stable, for the most part.
Because for so long, it was all that we could do.
It's all you can do.
Yeah, like, because so much of media, like, even when gay people started being allowed to be on TV, like, then also, like, we talked about Supernatural all the time.
Oh god,
and how the entire show is just intended
I
queer-baiting
love dishing
bullshit.
on Supernatural. I hate that show.
But, like, the queer baiting, like, that's what they realized, that they're like, well, we can have gay people, but, like, what if we just tease the possibility of gayness, and then that'll get the queers on our side, but, like, we'll never actually give it to them, because we're not really gay.
I've never seen a show so rewarded for how terribly it treats its fans. Like, I'm astonished to this day that there's still such a devoted fan base.
Well, they're probably all masochists. Yeah, we're coming for you, Supernatural fans. We're
Yeah, I don't really
watch
care.
other shows with actual gay characters.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I feel like Supernatural was also a lot of people's introduction to that kind of no-homo style of writing. And I feel like, you know, a lot of the cases you just put regarding this comic, you could say for Supernatural and other shows of the like that do utilize queerbaiting. I don't even know if I could classify... I mean, let me see what I put in my notes, because, like, I don't even know if I could classify this comic as necessarily queerbaiting, because it's clearly a slow burn romance between these two men, but the payoff at the end is, like, still not definite for them to actually be a queer pairing.
Like,
but
they sort of walked it back, but not really.
They are, but they aren't. It's like what a lot of queer baiting media does, to where they're in this weird gray area, to where it's obviously queer, but, you know, what's it really trying to convey? And I think what you pointed out is really important.
Like, okay, a lot of it also depends on context. Like, if this story was followed up later with another story about the two of them, this issue wouldn't be queer baiting anymore.
You're right.
Because it would have led to something. Mm-hmm. However, I don't think it's ever followed up on. The two of them never really interact again after this.
I'm so sure.
Or if they do, they never refer back to this incident. So unfortunately, given that it's never followed up on, I probably would say it's queer baiting, but it's also, I have the hots for Rhino and Grizzly. So
Rhino and Grizzly
I don't
are
mind
great.
that I was baited by these two, because I think they're both really hot.
Yeah, they are. They are very, like, they're freaking top tier, big,
Husbandos.
beefy supervillain that, you know, people such as you or myself can really appreciate.
And, like, there's panels, like, not in this issue, because this issue the art is more, like, stylized, but in other issues with Grizzly, like, his suit is also very skin tight on him. Like, his ass is, like, big, beefy, like, it's just, like, the suit is, like, glued to him. I wish other issues had a big hole in the ass of his costume, but they haven't quite got there yet.
Big, beefy guys in costumes is very hot.
It is.
I really think that should just be common acceptance. I think Venom was a really big trendsetter in the late 2010s with the movies and the fan art, all that rising, and I don't know. I am a big fan of these two, though. I hope to see more material of them in the future, be it fan-made or mostly looking forward to the fan-made content.
I may have already commissioned an artwork from an artist I know, I'm going to get art of Rhino and Grizzly having, like, the same kiss as this issue, but in my version, it's going to be, like, a passionate romantic kiss.
Aww.
Fixing the mistakes that this issue made. I'm going to give them a real kiss, then give them a real happy ending. They're gonna go straight together, if you know what I mean.
I'm into it.
And were there other thoughts on this issue of Spider-Man?
Not particularly. I mean, you know,
I think Spider-Man would support these two. If you he'd be like, these bitches are gay.
Good for them.
Good for them.
That
would be his reaction.
I could see it.
It would be good for them. Maybe they'll finally leave me alone now.
Maybe. Yeah, that would be nice. Okay, but imagine if they formed, like, a team and they were still committing crimes, but, like, as a gay couple. And then whenever Spider-Man, like, swung in to stop them, they'd be like, you're committing a hate crime on Spider-Man. And he'd be like, I'm not homophobic, you know, like, as he's punching them out.
That's good. That's good. Oh, for sure. This is the content we strive for.
Okay, I know we got at least one question on our Discord. I don't know if we've received any emails.
I don't think we have.
I checked yesterday and there weren't any.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We have one question. We always appreciate every question we receive. I think it's because it's a non-Gargoyles episode, so like people probably weren't sure what to ask.
Yeah.
This is like Spider-Man. What are you guys
Should
doing?
Should I just say for the record right now that this is not a Gargoyles podcast? I mean, we cover Gargoyles with our podcast, but it's just not. We explore more things than just Gargoyles. We still love Gargoyles. We will always talk about Gargoyles, but it's not going to be the only thing we talk about.
We're not restrained to any one show. We're unbridled.
Yeah.
We do all we want.
Yeah, support other shows and artists, and just kind of putting our place in the queer community for the online podcast.
But so our friend Crossover Lion on the Loincloth Hour Discord asks, which version of Spider-Man is the gayest? And then he says media-wise, not on a multiverse level.
I
don't know what that is.
I don't know the difference.
So I think what he means is like he's not talking like Spider-Verse, like which Spider-Man in the multiverse is the gayest. He's talking like which version, like from the movies, from the comics, from cartoons, or like I think that's what he's trying to ask. It's
difficult. Obviously the first one that comes to mind is Tobey Maguire. I don't know why. I don't think that Spider-Man is in the slightest. It's just funny to me thinking about it that way.
Ultimate Spider-Man, I'm still 100% convinced is bi.
He lives with Johnny Storm and Bobby Drake. He lives in a gay house.
Yeah.
Like, Aunt May saw a bunch of gay teenagers and was like, you all need a home together. Live with my nephew, who is also figuring out that he's a little bit gay as well.
Very supportive.
I wouldn't call him gay, because he definitely likes women, but he also definitely likes men.
He's definitely bisexual. And also, when his female clone also likes men.
Yeah.
Like, isn't she bi? Or is or is she a lesbian? What is she?
So she started out saying she was bi, and then she decided she was a lesbian.
Right.
But she's also like, I'm still kind of figuring it out.
Yeah, like, I feel like they both sort of like...
She knows she prefers
things.
Women.
Yes.
But she's not sure how she feels about guys.
Uh-huh.
Like, she did kiss Johnny Storm and enjoy it.
Yes, so to me, that definitely means that Peter also sort of would enjoy kissing Johnny Storm.
It was amazing because, like, she kissed him, and, like, you get the scene where she's, like, dying and scraping her tongue, but at the same time, she's like, I really enjoyed that. Oh, no, I enjoyed that.
Oh, no.
Why kiss Johnny Storm, though, when you can kiss Ben Grimm?
I agree. See, Peter Parker, I can see him being bi, but also he'd, like, have terrible taste in guys.
Oh gosh, I'm tired of Marvel doing that with their queers.
Yeah, because Iceman also has terrible taste in men, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's always just like the most basic.
But Iceman always had terrible taste in any romantic partner. Has he ever had any interest in anyone who was not?
He dated Lorna Dane, who is amazing drag queen levels of gorgeousness. Like. Other of his partners, not so much. Yeah, like Opal Tanaka, we don't really need her around. Who else did he date? He and like Kitty tried to date once, and it was really weird because she's also gay. Like,
this is some Degrassi levels of drama right now.
Listen, X-Men is a continuing soap opera, just like Spider-Man is. I don't know if this counts as version of Spider-Man, but I would say like any Venom. Anything is gay. Like, I know he's not like Spider-Man per se, but he's related.
Well, I hope that answered Crossover's question.
Well, we never got your answer because I said Ultimate. You just immediately went on about Ultimate.
I just said Venom.
Oh.
I will say yes. That Ultimate Spider-Man is gay, a little bit.
But wait, do you mean the movie Venom or
any Venom?
I thought we were trying to say, like, which iteration was the gayest, was the whole point.
Well, I didn't really have an answer. I just wanted to say that Venom is gay. Venom's whole deal is that Venom
Okay.
is jilted by Spider-Man as a spurned lover and wants to get back together with him.
I guess
Like, from the ground up, he's
Yeah.
gay.
I guess long story short, the answer is just ask us about Venom next time because we have more. We want to talk about.
Yes, please. I would love to talk about that.
We'd love to talk about Venom. Spider-Man, I mean, like he's like kind of like he's got his own thing going on. He's not really our type, but I mean my type particularly. But I see the appeal.
There was one issue actually. Okay, stop. You mentioned Ben Grimm. Spider-Man has made out with Ben Grimm.
I know
Yes.
the issue you're talking
Yes.
about, and I've seen it.
There was like some
where they're
mind
cuddling.
control thing or something, but they did make out with each other.
No,
It
it
was
was
wonderful.
after the mind. Like it was literally just like, I'm sorry. Let me just like make out with you for a little bit. Does that feel better? Like
I
that was. It
forgot
was
that
really
happened.
cute.
I liked that the list of both their partners includes each other on the list.
All right. Well, I think we've said everything we need to say. We don't have any more like inquiries or comments from fans. So, let us know what you think of this episode. If you want us to, do more things like this episode, just feel free to please leave any input or of the sort.
What weird homoerotic comics do you want us to look at? I don't think we ever introduced each other when we started recording, but
No.
I'm Manitorn, aka Croup. You can find me on Fur Affinity under the name Croup, or my Patreon under the name Manitorn, or Twitter under the name Spanktatorn when Twitter isn't exploding.
Yeah, subscribe to his Patreon. He has really good writing.
Yeah, I've been posting a lot of stories of Patreon. Like my work output has been exploding the last few months, so I've worked ahead now. I have a queue I can post from.
Yeah.
Like every month there's like 5 or 6 complete stories posted there, and in my opinion at least they're all really hot. Last month I put up Razul from Aladdin getting spanked. I put up Pen from Zelda Tears of the Kingdom getting spanked, like a full story for each of them. What else I've there's lots of stories. Oh, King Shark from DC. I did one of him getting spanked.
Nice.
So like if any of those seem like they'll tickle your fancy, you should. It's only $1 a month. Please subscribe to me. Help pay my bills.
Absolutely. And I guess I'll go next. I'm Sydney. You can follow us on Twitter at the loincloth at loincloth hour because that was taken. And you can subscribe to our Patreon, the loincloth hour. I don't want to promote my Twitter anymore. I think it's just kind of become a cesspool.
Yeah, we're just waiting for whatever everyone else migrates to. We're waiting to see what that is so that we can also migrate there.
Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube as well, where you can find all of our episodes streaming there. You might be listening to this episode on YouTube for all I know. We're on SoundCloud, The Loincloth Hour, YouTube, The Loincloth Hour, Patreon, Twitter. I mean, you could just follow us at any real source. I think that's all I have for my thing. That's really what I'm doing right now, material-wise. That's
doing the music, doing the editing, doing all
I
the
do-
creative things.
I do also make music. You could I'm kind of going under a multitude of titles right now, but there's one music project I'm hoping to get on the rails soon. It's a new one, so yeah, that'll be coming.
Where can we find you on the internet, Hebron?
At Pangolin_Huron or 13333 usually.
And that was
Various
his
places.
Twitter and his Fur Affinity, and other places too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. We are marking 1 hour and 15 minutes for this recording session.
Nice. The greater the humiliation, the greater the revenge.
Yeah.